So today, I'm not rushing anybody.
Sure, Jan.
I'm not, naming names and, opening a can of whoop ass and handing out ass kickings and lollipops. Nope.
I don't know why you hang out with her. She is such a hoe.
It's just something light. Now, artists are inspired by other artists. And I think that, one, it is imperative that artists invest in other artists' work. I think it's also crucial that they collect the art that they love. Today we're doing something a little different. A lot of artists like to talk about the art that they make, but they never talk about the art that they surround themselves with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the art that I collect. You'll see a timeline that tells a story of the art that I've collected, a running theme that has influenced the art that I make, as well as why it is important for artists to truly research and understand the art that they make and collect. Each piece tells a story. I can't show you what I lost in a divorce, but just follow my journey into my art collecting and hopefully you'll get slightly inspired. Also, if you're new here, hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that notification for all updates. Leave a comment, share, like, subscribe. Let me know what type of art you like to collect or what artists you would love to collect, because I really appreciate everyone leaving comments. And as this channel grows, it really means a lot to me, and I thank you.
You're tacky and I hate you.
Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Henry Haight. Welcome. I'm a multidisciplinary artist and we talk about all things art, creation of art, my tips, tricks, madman ramblings, yada yada yada. You came on a good night. But today we're doing something a little different. A lot of artists like to talk about the art that they make, but they never talk about the art that they surround themselves with. And as you can see here and through my videos, I've always made it a point to surround myself with other art, not just my own work, but, well, there's work behind me that I created, but work that inspired me and is kind of a map, if you will, to my influence, my creative practice, as well as how my art came to be. So with this, I'm going to be showing you my personal art collection, just a fraction of it, because over the years I've invested money in art. When I had a tattoo in a city banker who was a client for several years, he told me, if you're smart, you'll stick your money in a mattress. And I said, what about on the walls? He's just like, even better. The weird thing is I always thought, well, you'll see what each piece that I'm going to show you has a story stemming from my youth to the influences that I've had over the years in my practice. So I'm going to do this video in two sections because I can't show you all the art that I've collected over the years. I've had everything from a Banksy to a one-piece penny, Franco B. These things all have a story and things that I love. So I'm going to show you remnants of what I have here in Los Angeles right now. I can't show you what I lost in a divorce, but just follow my journey into my art collecting and hopefully you'll get slightly inspired. Over the years, when I've purchased art, it is an addictive feeling. I know I'm going to buy something. I don't get things from art fairs, but I go through certain vendors, certain galleries, and certain events where I know that the particular type of artists that I like are going to be showing or showcasing. Sometimes I've even traded with certain artists that I respect and like and barter. And it's not a blood sport, but the whole thing of, knowing you're going to get this particular piece or you're circling around, I see why some people say it's an addictive thing.
We're a specialist gallery. Perhaps if you knew what you were looking for, I could help you.
Oh, yeah, I want to, buy some art. I'm a collector. I like sort of modern stuff. Please come downstairs. We'll see what we can do.
You only work in a shop, you know, you can drop the attitude.
Shopping is an addiction, but the dopamine rush of actually unpacking an artwork or knowing that you're going to hang it is not only thrilling, but for me, it feels like a goal, an achieved goal that I've accomplished something, that I get to hold on to this piece and love it. Now, with this though, I have to say that I never thought in a million years that, I hoped that, I would love to have an art collection, and artists are inspired by other artists. And I think that it is imperative that artists invest in other artists' work. I think it's also crucial that they collect the art that they love to get inspired, to create a habitat of things that identify their own work, because it is a reflection of artists paying it forward to other artists. And this is in this little section here, each piece tells a story, and they are very dear to me. I don't see them as wall decor. I see them as living ghosts and reminders of what I need to do. So I'm going to start with the first piece and let me know what you guys think. Right behind me, you will see that this is an Andy Warhol, or The Wicked Witch of the West, and it is from his 1981 Myths series. Now, when I was a teenager, I got into Andy Warhol very early on, around 14, and me and a friend decided to ditch school. I went to Saddleback High School in Orange County, and virtually Saddleback is only about a mile from South Coast Plaza, or a mile and a half. We decided to ditch one day, drop acid, and we walked into this art gallery, and I saw this. This gallery sold Warhol as well as another Japanese artist that I was a fan of, Hiro Yamagata, which he painted a lot of colorful cityscapes. And with this one in particular, because me and a friend had dropped acid, this one had a profound effect on me. And, reading about Andy Warhol, I know that his iconic piece is considered the Marilyn. I'm deeply influenced by him. I've tried to retell stories through my Food for Thought series with the force-feeding chairs as opposed to his electrical chairs. And the iconography of this image, unlike growing up Catholic and how I was surrounded by photos of Jesus at my grandmother's house and saints and all this stuff, here is an image of a woman who is, one, misunderstood, two, like the Wicked story, that evil people aren't made, but they are either victims of circumstance or products of their environment, or forced into situations where they could be perceived as wicked or evil. The whole mythology of this character and the theme, but all of it really captured me. And over the Marilyn, I know people love that, but I thought one day I could own a Warhol or this, and it happened. So work hard, kids. Work really, really hard. Warhol is extremely influential to me because I started off as a printmaker, and as you see with some of the work that I have here, I didn't have a lot of faith in my painting skills, and printmaking seemed like a do-it-yourself easy task, that things where anything was possible. And as you'll see, printmaking was deeply influential in my work. So if you come over here, you will see that I have a Jamie Reid, God Save the Queen. Now, this Jamie Reid is edition 70 out of 250, and it was made in 1997. The Wicked Witch was made in 1981. It has, each of them are signed. This one is 70 out of 250. And this was the 20th anniversary of the God Save the Queen punk anniversary. And this is considered the most iconic punk image by Jamie Reid. Now, Jamie Reid was heavily influenced by The Situationists, which again, I started to understand and virtually absorb all these things. And here you have two printmakers from two different type of styles. I just took to printmaking like a sponge. And although I do love the Sex Pistols, you know, I really loved Jamie Reid's work because he cultivated the ransom letter fonts and just taking anything, and rather than, unlike Warhol, where Warhol took commercial printmaking and commodified it, Jamie Reid weaponized printmaking, and his work was more social. With this piece, it meant that, you know, embracing the anti-establishment as well as do it your fucking self. And that's what I took in the rule book, that yes, if I did it myself and stuck to my fucking guns, I could do it, even in the anti-establishment, and have a #1 song where it was banned by the BBC, #1, and still during the Queen's Jubilee, the infamous boat party. And to a teenage kid, I became very an Anglophile in a way of all these things, because living in Orange County, it was very suburban, ultra conservative, ultra white, and to a Mexican American kid, you know, New York and England and these Burgoyne subcultures just seemed like an escape for me. And these two pieces are really important to me. And I received this piece, it was actually gifted to me by a friend who I no longer speak with. He gave me this as a Christmas present because I said I loved it and I was going to buy it, and over Christmas he gave it to me. So thank you, Hendrik. Thank you. And you know, Jamie Reid is no longer with us, but he influenced a lot of artists in printmaking, as well as just his use of color, his influence on political art, from collaborating with the Pussy Riot to just doing it yourself. I thank him for that. Now, this piece is going to be slightly a little controversial as well as pivotal, because I started to understand adult themes in art. And this one is a photograph that I got in an auction by Irving Klaw. And it is of Betty Page. It is BP 280. And when I saw this, I was familiar with Jeff Koons' Popeye series, where he used the actress Gretchen Mol, who was playing the notorious Betty Page in the 2006 film. And he reformatted this, I think, in the Jeff Koons version, she's straddling a dolphin and in color. And this I loved, which I then did recreating Venus version of my version of this image. And the thing about Betty Page as well as Irving Klaw was that around 1956, the Postmaster General, he was banned from actually sending out his photographs through catalog mail order, and for indecency, and something about the Senate Subcommittee for Juvenile Delinquency, where he thought that this was pornography. And this, compared to today of what we see on OnlyFans or Instagram, is, you know, really tame. And a lot of his work was ordered to be destroyed by the Senate congressional hearing, and his wife virtually saved some of his work. And this was one of the pieces that he did. One of the things about Betty Page is that I love is that long before the supermodel, there was this image that virtually this woman was so influential in her appearance as on popular culture, where I know that the character Betty in The Rocketeer is based off Betty Page. And I would see her image in punk clubs and on Melrose when I was in my 20s. She was this subculture pinup superhero in a sense, and the bad good girl. You know, a lot of girls emulated the haircut, as well as there was this mystique around her. Much like the Greek muses, Betty Page influenced a lot of artists, from John Willie, Irving Klaw, Bunny Yeager, Jeff Koons. And this, you know, to me was just something I wanted to have. This little photo still brings me so much joy. I do collect photographs as well, and I can't show you those two because they have peeing in them and animals a snake going through one of them. So but, you know, I digress. I can't show that because I don't want to get demonetized. But, you know, the Betty Page photograph by Irving Klaw. Also, the story of he beat the system. You'll see that there's this anti-establishment thing of fuck you to, you know, the man. And this is when it came up and I was notified of it. You know, I had to have it, and that's why I have it. So, next piece. Come on. Here I have my Paul Insect Sid Vicious. He did, I believe, 3. He did Elvis Presley and Sid Vicious. And I bought this, I believe, in, I think it was 2008. I'm not sure. But I got this for a really good deal. And I bought it at Picture on Wall's Santa's Grotto. Now, Santa's Grotto was where they had local artists as well as street artists like Banksy, Brainwash, and a few others selling their work just before Christmas and on the cheap. And virtually, when I purchased this, I believe I paid 90 quid for it at the time. And again, correlating to Jamie Reid, I really loved this painting out of the 3 Dead Rebels series that he did, and I do respect Paul Insect's work. He is, again, a notable printmaker from New York, and essentially, I loved everything he did, and I thought I could get this piece and virtually, you know, have one of my own. This piece here is highly collectible, and I would suggest that any person who has the capacity to invest in living artists, you don't have to spend a fortune, but the pieces that I've bought, I've loved and collected and kept over the years for significant reasons. But with Sid Vicious, it's not his musicianship, but again, the anti-establishment, the rebellion of what he represents. And that is the thing that I've always loved about the element of punk, is that there were no rules. You could break everything and still achieve greatness, even through infamy. And yeah, you know, it's unfortunate that, but at the same time, I think that with, you'll see that, you know, skulls and death and stuff and sex in my collection, but these things are the circle of life and a rebirth system, and somewhat transcendent into our own human existence, of why I love the work that I do. All right. This piece, again, going back to the printmaking Warhol influence, this piece is by the artist Russell Young, and it is edition 14 out of 45. Now, when I make prints or editions, I don't like to do anything under 50, because I think that is where the exclusivity comes into it. I know a lot of YouTubers like, oh, do 200 and stuff. And yes, I have done one piece, especially with the Diva Las Vegas, influenced by Marilyn Warhol and all that, where I do limited runs on the actual color scheme. But when I'm buying art, I always ask the art dealers or galleries, I would like the low register numbers in when I'm buying, or no deal. So I ask them what is the lowest register, and they will let me know or fish it out for me. But this is by British artist Russell Young. I bought this in 2012, and this is from her last film that was never completed, Something's Got to Give, and this was a publicity still of the movie that was never made. And to me, this piece represents Hollywood, tragedy, celebrity, everything that LA represents to me. And in some ways it sounds quite morbid to say that, me being in London for so long, and then coming from LA and Orange County, and spending a lot of my formative years in LA, I always looked at Los Angeles as kind of the abusive boyfriend that you just can't shake. And a lot of people come here with hopes and dreams and stuff, and the veneer and sheer, the sheen of Hollywood traps people. And although this is a beautiful image, I've always looked at it in the realist scope of what Hollywood can promise and what Hollywood could take away. And I do love this piece a lot because, one, it's Marilyn. It has that Warhol influence. I personally am not a huge fan of Russell Young's work, but I respect what he does, and because of this piece, I know he's known for just doing the Marilyn and just do it over and over and over again. But when I saw this, I got a pretty good deal on it, and I thought, all right, I'm gonna, love it forever. And when I'm buying things, I buy them not only for aesthetic value, but for things that I want to look at forever. And, this is an iconic image of, tragically, a film she never finished. And I think this was actually a costume test that was done. And, she looks vibrant, and just thinking that, she had passed not too long after this photo was taken. And Russell Young does do a lot of celebrities, and his medium is printmaking. And, as I'm moving away from printmaking and more into painting, again, when I first started printmaking and getting into it, I went through a phase of diamond dusting everything, and my fucking studio floor looked like a disco. It was just glitter everywhere, and that shit gets everywhere. And now people are like, oh, and the moment has passed. But Marilyn deserves that. And the funny thing is that this also reminds me of, if you've ever been to Hollywood at night, you will know I was living on Las Palmas at the time, I believe, when they repaved Hollywood Boulevard and put glitter into the pavement. So this actually reminds me of the Hollywood streets at night, because although it was a shithole and it turned now into a theme park, the street is paved with glitter. Yeah, so that tells me a lot about this piece. Now, these next pieces is a series done in 2013, and it's by the female British artist, infamous YBA, Tracey Emin, and it is her sex drawing series, an edition of 5 prints done of sex acts. Now, although they're very crude, I'll be honest, when I came across Tracey Emin's work, I wasn't a very big fan of her work, and I had the very great fortune of exhibiting with her and getting to speak to her and get to understand her perspective. And I was swayed. And I purchased these virtually, I believe it was that same year, but when I got these, I got them for a really good deal, and a couple had purchased them and was trying to raise money for a wedding, and I swooped in, and me being the Jaime bastard, yeah, I nailed it. With these, they remind me of, she's heavily influenced by Egon Schiele. I like that they're very crude as well as very playful, and the fact that they're done by a woman is even more telling that, it's a human instinct that we each get titillated, and virtually they do bring me joy, and I've cherished them over the years. And, I think that she's now getting her flowers as a telling woman, because her work was very personal, and virtually I used to think that she was the type of woman that she would open a wound and show it to people, much similar to, I think, Marina Abramovich, where and Karen Finley, where they were savagely exposing the feminine prowess in a sense that was overwhelming. And I do think that she's highly influential. We need more women artists like Tracey Emin, and that I'm very happy that I get to see these on a daily basis. Also, I think that what I take away from Tracey Emin's work is to put interpersonal stories of myself into my own work. And although I'm heavily influenced by Tom of Finland and his highly sexualized imagery, there is a telling story behind how that came to be with me, and my links to the fetish scene. But with Tracey Emin, I do think that these kind of remind me of dirty drawings on that you see in men's toilets. Hey, give me a call here, and yeah, they make me chuckle. And yeah, so my mom doesn't like them, so shh. Now, this piece I probably don't consider necessarily a work of art, but it is very unique, one of a kind. And this was given to me by a tattoo client after a, how do I say, a bit of nastiness. But this human skull was given to me by a tattoo client that I've been tattooing for a while, and I had no idea that he had a crush on me. And after our tattoo session, I make it a rule not to sleep with my clients, and I did. And immediately after, he actually pulled this out of his satchel, and it was in a little velveteen box, and gave this to me. It has 2 teeth still attached to it, and in witchcraft they say that on a full moon, if you drink from the cranium, you can see and feel what the last thing this person saw or felt. I haven't done that, but getting this through customs was a bit of a feat. Now I've got stopped at Marché Pouchouette in Gare du Nord in Paris when I had cross scissors, and anyone who follows me on Instagram and been to my shop or knows my taste is quite maximalist, and I collect things. Artists are notorious collectors, and crosses and scissors, I digress, but they stopped me, and I had to explain. I had to show a wall in my tattoo shop of this, but I never gave this skull a name, and I've had it now about 24 years, because it was given to me by a guy named Rodney. Thank you, Rodney, who gave me this, and I tattooed him a couple more times, and it fizzled out, but the skull remains. Hakuna Matata. Sanjaya! The last piece I'm going to show you is this little bad boy. It means a lot to me because essentially this was a gift from Amy, and although I know some people would look at it as a piece of art. In art terms, they call it an objet d'art. And one day I was behind my reception desk and doing a tarot reading, and I am heavily into the esoteric and the spiritual. I'm not religious by any means. She came in, and at the time Back to Black hadn't happened, and she didn't have any credit on her phone, so she asked to use my phone. And it sounds so archaic, thinking that, this famous singer comes into a tattoo shop to use a phone because she had no money on her phone, and she asked me to give her a reading after she used the phone, and I did. And virtually, we talked for about 25-30 minutes, just shooting the shit and what I saw. I'm not going to go into what I read for her. She left, and the weird thing was that on my first meeting of Amy, when I did the pinup, I didn't think anything of it, in the sense of I had the CD of Frank, and we got on like a house on fire. And 2 days later, she came in, used my phone, and asked to walk my dog. And the following day, she brought in a ball for Jolene. And my biggest regret is I never got a photo of Amy with Jolene. The thing about this is that she had left down the street on Old Street. There was this traditional hipster barber shop called Murdoch. She was dating Alex Clare at the time, who I was also tattooing, and she left the bag under my reception desk, and it had been there for about a week. She came back, picked it up, and the bag was untouched. And a couple of days later, she gave me this. Jolene popped her ball, but this one stays forever. The funny thing is that no one will actually know just how generous Amy was, because there was this girl from North London who used to say, she was a London girl through and through, and before Back to Black, she used to like to take the tube, and she could come in, scream on the phone to whoever she was talking to, and I never said a word. She would walk Jolene. She'd pose for pictures with customers in the shop, and to me, she was always just Amy. But this little objet d'art means the world to me, because I can see a future. Each little bubble means a wish, and I tend to think that she's still looking out for all the people that she loved, and all the wishes inside here, are captured and hopefully come true. I've been fortunate enough to get to know the family, work with the foundation, and the family gave me that, and I've got the books where I'm thanked and stuff, and I'm highly protective of the memory and honor of Amy. And I know that fans like to pay tribute in their own way, and I think what's strange is that with the people that did know her, there is this emotional connection that can be highly protective, and especially when it comes to the parents, and I understand that, but and I sometimes have gotten really defensive, because I think fans know one type of Amy rather than the person, and that's not such necessarily a bad thing. And I have this painting that was displayed at the exhibition. This sounds crazy to say that I think that sometimes maybe Amy is like a guardian angel, and I'm forever changed by her presence, because the minute she walked into my shop, as a fluke, my art career kind of that way. And some people are like, oh, you're just known for tattooing famous drug addicts. And the irony is that with the people that I tattooed, Pete Doherty, Amy Winehouse, Alexander McQueen, they've had great success, and they've also struggled with personal demons, and I myself have. And I think in some ways that's kind of rooted me into knowing that, not so much that I don't want to say that success is not all that it's cracked up to be, is that there are trap doors, and it's important that you keep your feet on the ground. And success can be, I used to think that, buying a Warhol, like, oh, that would be my dream. But I didn't realize that there were going to be so many more challenges and problems on that level of, success. I was going to have a whole different level. It didn't take away my problems. I just had newer problems. And through all of this, through the themes of anti-establishment, is to keep fighting, keep challenging, and keep going. And with the Amy crystal ball, I kind of think that when we sat there doing the tarot reading, that we have hope, because when we're doing a tarot reading, we're looking. I don't want to say we're looking for an answer, but we're looking for clues of how to solve issues. At least that's for me. And I can only speak for myself. I'm not going to sit there like a magic 8 ball and go, it is certain, because that's not it. And this is just a small remnant of I'm going to make another video of the art that I have. Now, this isn't a flex, but this is just an incentive to show that if you work really hard and that you can achieve great success, and that the art that you collect can also represent and influence your input and your practice. Because I was heavily influenced by printmaking, and I was going to make prints and silk screening and digital work, and then learn that science, and then use it, doing diamond dust. And that was just something that I just thought, okay, I'm gonna learn this. And I still look back at some of these pieces and think that, as a kid growing up in Orange County, that there was an out, and art is an out. And I would like to know what pieces you guys would like to collect, or who influences you, that, who's your go-to. So with that, I'm going to stop for this video, and because I've got to do some work on some upcoming shows and stuff. Now that my website, henryhaight.com, Henry Haight Fine Art, is up and running, the shop, I will be doing limited run quality street apparel using my art, as well as Henry Haight influence work as from my archive and stuff like that. Greeting cards, check it out. The shop is open. Put it on Klarna. But anyways, hit that notification for all the updates, and news drops, anything like that, video updates, things. Just hit it and leave a like, a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this video, and I will see you in the next one. And until then, guys, keep creating, keep looking after yourselves, and take care.